everybody, this is Tracy of A View from Tracy's Point, and we're here to recap This Is Us, Season 1, Episode 13, which was entitled Three Sentences. In Episode 13, we finally get our first glimpse of confirmation that Jack actually dies, but it looks like we won't really know exactly what happened to Jack until the season finale. At least that's what I'm reading in some of the blogs out there. So I guess we just have to keep watching and wait and see. And so that means that we have 5 more episodes remaining, because I think the season was 18 episodes long. So Jack wants a dog. That's how the show opens up. We have Jack and Rebecca, and they're in bed together, and he's telling her that he thinks that they should get a dog. So then the conversation ends, and they begin to make out, and here comes Kate and Kevin, and they want their parents to know that for their upcoming birthday, that everybody wants to have their own birthday party. So of course, they're like, well, where is Randall? And so they get Randall in the room, and Randall, says he really doesn't care. But then they were like, no, it's got to be all 3 of you. So then Randall says, well, if I can have a musician, then I'll be okay with having my own party. So what it turns out to be is that they do all the parties together at the house, but like Randall was outside in the backyard with the musician. Kate wanted to do a Madonna themed party, so she was in like the den or the living room. And then Kevin, I never did figure out what Kevin's party was, but I'm thinking it was some movie that may have been out during that time. And then he was like the lead character, which was a pirate or something. And he was in another room of the house, and they each were allowed to invite 15 guests to the party. So it's the day of the party, and Rebecca has just said, that it was going to be a total of 45 kids. And then Jack decides that instead of a dog, he wants to have another baby. And I'm thinking, you're about to get your feelings hurt, Jack, but we'll see what Rebecca says about it. So we move to the present, and Kate is meeting with a counselor to discuss her gastric bypass surgery. And I guess after the scare with Toby, she decided that she doesn't want to have the surgery, that she wants to lose the weight naturally. And so, the counselor's talking to her and making sure that it's what she wants to do. And then she recommends a camp for Kate to attend. So then we move over to Randall's, and it's breakfast time, and him and Beth, they're like eating yogurt and drinking juice and coffee and trying to get out the house, to get to work. When William comes in, and he comes down, he's like really hyper. He has this like burst of energy, doesn't know what to do with himself. And so he's telling them, I think that one of the girls had gave him an iPad, and then Beth is like, you mean an iPod? And so he was like, well, no, iPad. So they were like going back and forth. But he basically wants Randall to download some music. But Randall says that he needs to get to work because he has a meeting with his boss, and asks Beth if she will load the music for William. So William, leads out to go and get the iPad, which really was an iPod, to bring it back down for them to look at. And so Beth, she wants to get all romantic with William, because I think she really misses their time alone, since they have all this going on. And, we got Kate and Kevin in town, and William staying with them. But Randall, he's focused on his job and says that he needs to go. As William left the room to go upstairs, Beth lets Randall know that actually what William is going through is chemo withdrawal, and that when her dad was going through chemo and he decided to stop his treatment, that he too had this huge surge of energy, and he felt like he was, could conquer the world, but it really was just the body, I guess, getting back to his natural state and happy to not have all those chemicals in it. Then we move on to Kevin, and he's on a coffee break at the theater. And so he's trying to be friendly with Sloan. I guess in his head that him and Sloan are still together, but Sloan lets him know that that is not the case. And so she reminds him that he, said that the only reason he chose her was because it was the right thing to do. And in her mind, that was equivalent to wearing a seatbelt while in a cab. It's not going to keep you safe, but it's the right thing to do by law. And so we move back to Kate, and she's decided to go to weight camp, and Toby is dropping her off, and it turns out that he actually has to stay in New York for the additional 2 weeks while he recovers from his surgery. And so he says that while Kate is at the camp, he would just tour New York City on his own and, learn about the the city. So I kind of felt sorry for Toby because nothing really went well for him on this trip to New York. You know, he flew out there to be with Kate for Christmas, and then he ended up having to have the bypass surgery and all of that, and now she's leaving him to go to camp. So I don't know, Toby, but you know, you seem to love Kate and want to hang in there. So Kate is getting a tour of the facilities, and the guide is telling her about all the activities that they have, including yoga, drumming, horseback riding, and some other things. But then Kate, I can't remember if Kate was already really sarcastic or if she picked up this sarcasm from being around Toby so much, but she just doesn't seem like a really nice person anymore. And so, you know, she's telling the lady, well, where's the gym? You know, I thought I would be in there on the treadmill. And the lady's trying to explain to her that, you know, it's not a quick fix thing coming to the camp, that they want them to have a lifestyle change so that when they leave and go back home, they'll know how to do the things that they need to do to not only lose the weight, but keep the weight off and be emotionally sound while they're doing it. And so, you know, Kate is really, you know, she's still being sarcastic with the lady, but then her phone rings. So she goes to answer the phone, and it's Kevin. And so, of course, she's really happy for the interruption because, you know, it was getting kind of awkward with the camp counselor. And so Kevin wants to complain about Sloan giving him the cold shoulder and not opening up. And so, you know, Kate listens to him and pretty much tells him, you know, what do you expect? And then she tells Kevin that, you know, Toby is all alone in the city and that she would really appreciate if he would go and spend some time with him and hang out with him. So, of course, Kevin is like, God dang it, I called you to talk about me. I didn't call to talk about you or to be, you know, get a charity case dumped on me, you know, but I'll do my best. So, of course, that made Kate happy. And so I was thinking to myself, no, Kevin, it can't always be about you, but we know somehow you are going to make it about you because that's what you always do. You little attention whore you are. So as Kate is hanging up the phone with Kevin, she tells him she loves him and, you know, she'll talk to him later. So there's this guy walking by with a horse and he overhears her. And so he tells her, you know, I hope that wasn't your husband or your boyfriend. And so I'm like, okay, let me find out that Kate has a new admirer. And then can somebody tell me if all heavyset men have this outgoing and flirtatious personality and are this confident, or are they only that way with women who are overweight? Like, will a guy like Toby and the guy at the camp make these same pickup lines with somebody who, you know, didn't look like Kate? This, I guess, is what I'm asking. So then we go back to Randall, and he arrives at work for his meeting, and he learns that an account that he really wanted is going to be given to one of his colleagues, a guy named Sanjay, I think it was. Randall speaks up and lets his manager know that he was really hoping that he would get the account. So then the manager tells them to go back and do some kind of proposal, and then he'll look at both of the proposals and decide, you know, which one he wants to go with. So the guy, I think they said like a couple of weeks, or I mean a couple of days or next week, but then Randall was like, no, I'll have mine after lunch. But then while Randall is in his office working on the proposal, here comes William, and William wants to know if he can go shopping. So Randall was in there like, I'm working on this proposal, but you know, William's not going to take no for an answer. And then, you know, of course, Randall has to remember that William only has a little bit of time left, and so, you know, he has to take advantage of these moments and opportunities. So he agrees to go. And so as they're walking out of the office, Sanjay walks by and he's like, oh, headed to lunch. And then Randall's like, no, just a quick bite to eat and I'll be back in 15 minutes. So then we get a flashback scene, and it's at the house, you know, the day of the party, and it is a madhouse. And I'm wondering if these are the same kids that were being mean to Kate at the pool that she actually invited, you know, to be a part of her Madonna party. I was trying to see if I recognized any of them, but, you know, who knows? Kids get over things so quickly. So then Rebecca, you know, discovers that no one showed up for Randall's part of the party except for 3 kids. And so he says that none of the kids in his class actually like him and that he knew that they wouldn't come. And so Beth was like, yeah, but you get invited to everybody's party, so why would you say the kids don't like you? And then Randall lets her know because they have a rule in the class that if you give out birthday invitations that you have to invite everybody in the class or you can't pass out the invitations. But he seems to be okay with it, and he lets Rebecca know that the 3 people that are there are truly his friends, and that's all that matters to him anyway, is that they showed up. And so then Rebecca goes back in the house and she's talking to Jack, and she immediately says that the reason the kids don't like Randall or wouldn't come to the party was because they're racist. And you might have a point there, Rebecca. They may just very well be racist. So Randall is on his way to the bathroom when Rebecca stops him, and asks if everything is okay. And he's like, yes, I'm just going to the bathroom. So then he reassures her that, he's happy with the 3 kids that came because those are truly his friends. I don't know why he can't get that through her head. But then, she says that, okay, she believes him, and that as long as he's happy, that's all that matters. So then after talking to Randall, Rebecca goes to Jack and tells Jack that she decides that she does want to have another baby because Randall is such an amazing kid, which means that her and Jack must be doing a good job raising him. And who says that they couldn't have another child who turns out just as great as Randall? So I think they know that Kate and Kevin aren't the nicest people in the world, or that they have some issues going on even at that early age. So then we head into the living room, and Kevin, of course, is the life of the party and has stolen the attention from all of Kate's guests. So then Kate is off moping in the room where her party was supposed to be, and she tells Jack that everybody loves Kevin more than they love her. And so he tries to make her feel better, by asking her to teach him how to vogue. Remember when Madonna first came out, strike the pose and all of this here. And so, they were doing that, and then Jack gets up to go turn on some music so they could get up and dance together. But Kate lets him know that, she really wants to be alone at that time. And, thanks for coming by, but I'll be okay. So Jack and Rebecca, they go into the room where Kevin is entertaining all the guests and asks him to get Kate's best friend, a girl named Sophie, to get the others to go back to Kate's party. But Kevin says that he can't because he loves Sophie. So that they figure out that the reason Kevin came up with the idea that everybody would do their own individual parties this year is because he knew that Kate would invite Sophie, and then that would get Sophie to come to the party, to his party, and see him do his performance as this pirate that, his theme party was about. And I'm like, Kevin has been a mess since day one. So after the party, Jack and Rebecca are in bed, and he confesses that, his feelings are hurt because he can't make Kate feel good about herself anymore. And so they decide, that it may not be a good idea for them to have another kid after all. Then we go back to the present, and Toby is hanging out with Kevin and is very excited about it. And so they go to some party. It was like a party on a rooftop or something. And the girl at the door who was, checking the names and letting people in, her name was Malia. And so this fool, Toby, tells the woman, say, oh, can you tell Sasha I said hi? And the girl was looking all crazy. And he was like, okay, it was like an Obama joke, Malia and Sasha, the kids. But the girl didn't seem to quite get the joke or know what he was talking about. So Kevin is trying to explain to Toby, why his life as a hot actor, is not as great as everybody thinks it is. And that, his love life sucks, and he doesn't know what to do about, the women, Olivia and Sloan, neither one is talking to him and all this great stuff. And so Toby was really there for the party and to meet celebrities. He wasn't there to be listening to Kevin complain about his love life. But then he realizes that, Kevin has to have all the attention as Kate has shown him. So he suggests to Kevin that he do something like really nice for the woman that he really wants to be with. Sort of like they do in the romantic comedies, he says, but he let Kevin know that it has to be the woman that he really considers the love of his life, that it's not going to work on just any random chick. And so Kevin's looking all confused and everything. And so he starts telling him, like the movie Nottingham. And so Kevin didn't know what he was talking about. I'm thinking, how the hell are you an actor, but you don't know anything about some of the, hottest movies that have come out? But Kevin said he had no idea. So then Toby tells Kevin to close his eyes and pretend that he has 30 seconds to win back the love of his life. And who's the person that appears in his mind. And so Kevin opens his eyes and is ready to move like a man on a mission. Well, it turns out that it's neither Olivia or Sloan that Kevin is in love with or considers the love of his life. So he goes to this house of some random woman, at least I thought she was some random woman, and tells her that, he was head over heels in love with her from the moment he saw her, and that he never should have let her get away, and that losing her was like losing his arm, and he really wants his arm back. So I was like, okay, Kevin, that was some deep stuff you just laid down on her. And it turns out that it is Kevin's ex-wife. So, did I miss that episode where Kevin was married? I mean, like, was I the only person watching the show that didn't know that Kevin had an ex-wife? And then to just make it more intriguing is that the ex-wife turns out to be, remember from the birthday party, Kate's best friend Sophie that he tricked to come to his party. Well, Kevin grew up and married Sophie. So imagine that. So then we move back to Kate, and she's in her yoga class and she's really not feeling it at all. And then she moves over to some kind of, I called it Tai Chi, and it's not Tai Chi, but they're like doing these sticks. Is that Tai Chi? I don't know, but they're doing this exercise where they're sitting on the yoga mats and they have these sticks and they're like beating the sticks on the ground, and the guy's talking to them, and I guess it's like some kind of mental therapy type thing that they were going on. But Kate, she's not feeling it and she's ready to call it quits. So she gets up and leaves, and she calls Toby to come get her. So while leaving a message for Toby, the guy from earlier who was walking around with the horse, he comes up and he grabs the phone from her and ends the call. So then these two get to bantering back and forth, about him being rude and an asshole, and how Kate, is feeling about her weight, and, pretty much the same argument that her and Toby had when they first met. So after Kate and the guy finish arguing, and he pretty much puts her in her place and tell her, she's never going to lose the weight if she doesn't get her mind right. And, get on board with what's going on because the camp is a really great facility. She returns to class, and it's at the perfect moment for her to release some of the negativity that she's feeling. So as she's beating with the sticks and doing the little rhythm things, she starts to think about, all the times as a kid when she felt bad about herself. And then we learned that the most traumatic event was at Jack's funeral. And so, at that moment, she just lets out this like gut-wrenching scream, and I was just like, oh my God, I wanted to cry for her, because we got the scene of her beating the sticks really hard, and then they're at the graveyard, and we see the program from Jack's funeral. Then it goes back to Kate, and she's beating even harder and harder, and then, like I said, she eventually lets out this scream, and then the instructor of the class, he's like, oh my God, like, are you okay? Do you need help? And I was just like, Jesus, that was some intense stuff going on there. So then we have a scene with Kate, and she's going back to the horse guy, and I guess I need to learn his name and stop calling him the horse guy. And so, she wants to apologize to him, and it becomes very obvious that he wants him some Kate. And he tells her that he's in cabin 13. I'm like, oh, hell, Kate, please don't cheat on poor Toby. Don't do it, So she's trying to resist the guy. And the guy's like, okay, yeah. I'll see you when you get there. And I'm just like, Kate, no. Be strong, girl. Be strong. We go back to William and Randall, and they're in the eyeglass store at the mall, and William is trying on some shades, but Randall needs to get back to work, so he wants William to hurry up. But then William, instead of saying, okay, let's go, decides that he wants the perfect egg cream shake or something that I had never heard of before. So they go looking for this shake, and then we have a scene where they're sitting in Randall's car, and Randall's talking to, William about the fact that they had to go to 3 different stores in order to get the shake. But William is still sitting over there holding the shake and hasn't drinking it yet. But then William, asks him to pull over, and to Randall's surprise, William asks if he can drive his car. So I'm like, oh, dang. So, of course, Randall says yes, so they switch seats, and William, he's kind of like reclined back in the seat, and he has his shades on, and then he turns the radio to a jazz station. And so he starts telling Randall about when he was younger, and that there was this record shop in his neighborhood, and how, they would go to the record shop and wait for the owner, which was a guy named Mo, to come and open up the shop. And, he was saying how the guy would just put on records, for them, I guess, based on what he thought they wanted to hear or their personality or whatever. And so he was saying that, he really loved the guy Mo because he drove this really nice black car, how Randall has the same black car. And he would pull up and he would be sipping on his drink. And so William was saying, you know, how he just always wanted to be that person. So Randall says, okay, well, let's go for a drive then. And then William lets him know that he doesn't know how to drive because, you know, he never had the money for a car. And then where he lived, you know, he'd always just jump on the bus and get to wherever he had to go. So there was no need for him to buy a car. And so now he's about to get his very first driver's lesson because he said that he always wanted to learn how to drive before he died. And I'm just like, oh, this show. And so for 15 minutes, you know, Randall lets William drive around in circles around and around in the parking lot. And I'm just thinking these precious moments are going to stay with Randall long after William has left. The show ends with Kevin reminiscing over his birthday party and how he tried to impress Sophie that day. We get more flashbacks of the party, and we have Rebecca and Jack, and they're upstairs in bed, you know, talking and reminiscing over the day. And then they hear a noise downstairs, so they get up and they go downstairs to see what's going on. And then the kids walk in, and I think when there was this banner that said happy birthday, and it had all the kids' names on it and Big Daddy at the end. And so I'm thinking it was a banner that they had for a previous birthday party. And then they must have been like up in the attic or somewhere pulling out this banner. And so they walk in, you know, holding the banner. And so, you know, another little sweet, mushy ending to the show. And then the scene fades from, you know, them down looking at this banner to back at the graveside from when Jack had died. And so I am so anxious to learn what happened to Jack, but at the same time, I'm not ready for it because I'm no longer ready for Jack to not be a part, like an intricate part of the show. And then I'm wondering, since they say we find out what happened to Jack on the season finale, like, what is season 2 going to be all about? So it's going to be interesting to see how they build on this story to move it along in future seasons. So that's it for this episode. Leave your comments below, rate the video, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And until next time, take care. Bye-bye.